What's going on, guys? It's your boy The Nova Plays here, and you guys wanted to see more Ghost of Tsushima content according to my last video, so here we are. Specifically Legends, of course. Now, I wanted to make a video on how to get set up and ready and what to expect for this week's raid. Nova, there's a raid coming out? That's correct. There's a raid coming out October 30th, 2020 on a Friday, and the time of the raid's release has not been, released yet. So, let's get right into it. We're going to explain exactly what you should prepare for and what are the most likely things that are going to happen within the raid. Let's go. Alright guys, let's talk about what you need to do to be prepared for the raid when it drops this Friday. Alright, so first thing you need to do is make sure your character individual level is high enough where you are having the techniques that you want. Every character, every assassin, every hunter, every samurai, every Ronin, they all play just a tad bit differently. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you exactly what techniques you should go for, but rather that you have all techniques unlocked, so when you go in the raid and you experience the different parts of the raid, you know exactly what it is you need. On top of that, you should make sure that your character is at a very minimum of 105 ki. That is the highest you can get without ever entering nightmare mode missions or survival. That being said, if you are able to get yourself past 1.5 and up to 110, it is very, very good to do so, because most likely the very, very bare minimum of having no extra damage penalties is probably going to be at a key level of 105, maybe even higher. They might even make it 110. Now let's talk about weapons and gear. For the most part, I would say about 90%, it's the same thing as techniques. You really just need to run whatever it is you're comfortable with. But I do have one major suggestion, and that is the Healing Smoke Bomb Legendary that you get. The cooldown time is rather big, but it has a very good benefit of giving you two very good abilities. One, you're able to heal. Two, you're able to crit strike or assassinate if low enough, because you're constantly in the smoke and you and your team can huddle up together, heal simultaneously, and do massive damage to any enemies around you. You can expect a lot of very strong enemies to appear. More on that later. Now into the raid itself, let's talk about the mechanics we're going to see in the raid. First off, we're going to probably see attunement. Attunement, if you guys remember, is what Susanoo, Amaterasu, and Tsukiyomi are about. Or, for the simpletons, blue, orange, and green. Now, if you guys remember, you need to get a sword that matches the color, or you can have Uchisene's bow. Sorry if I botched his name. I'm not good at speaking Japanese. Uchisene's bow, if you guys remember, it's able to lock anybody out of their attunement as long as they get hit twice with a spirit bow shot. So that means you and your teammates are going to have to coordinate those shots together to make sure you rip anybody out of their attunement. It will make the fight literally 10 times easier because they have way less defense. Keeping on with attunement, let's talk about the jumping puzzles, because the attunement, as you may remember, also relates to the Kami platforms, where you need to have a specific Kami attunement in order to touch a certain platform and enable it for anybody else to walk on. That is probably going to be a part of the raid as a jumping puzzle thing. Remember how Destiny usually has intermediate parts where you engage in a jumping puzzle? This will probably be the same. So expect to see a lot of those around the area, where you probably either have to get to it as an intermediate part between a very big area, or even during the very big areas where you need to use it to probably get an item that will do something further in the raid. Now let's talk about the enemies we're going to see in the raid. The enemies are going to probably be a very mixed bag, but we can expect to see more high-end, more stronger and purple enemies towards the end, if not during any of the main segments. First off, let's talk about the different Oni and what to do and how to counter them. Now, the Brute Oni, the one who is no shield, just a big mace, likes to swing it around and cause an AoE attack, he has one very good trick that you can use against them. When they use the AoE attack, that big circle attack, you can actually jump up in the air at the right time to avoid the attack and come back down and do optimal damage before you have to get back out again, because he's probably going to do his swing attacks. The Defender Oni, the Shield and Spear Oni, are really good. If you have Water Stance, you are a very, very hard counter to that Oni. You just simply spam and hold the triangle move and their defense will be broken, and you and your team can easily gang up and destroy them. The Archer Oni, which is by far my most infuriating Oni, that one is going to be requiring teamwork. Now, if you don't know, if you get close to him, they teleport away. But there's a little trick that I found out, and that is to use any bow and arrow or long range high damage weapon. This will allow you to be able to do damage while he is standing still. The only trade-off is that they will still be able to shoot even if you land headshots. They will continuously shoot you. They do not care, so please be careful. Next up, let's talk about the Oni Lords. These guys are absolute monsters on the field because of their hard tracking abilities that you can't block, and apparently you can't dodge. Now, I don't know about the can't dodge thing, but when it's coming to me, I die or get hit at the very least. Those guys are really strong, and you guys are gonna want to coordinate, maybe smoke bombs, maybe sticky bombs, whatever it is. You need to make sure you coordinate and take those guys out immediately because they're bad, but they're not gonna be as bad as the next enemy. The next one is what, like me and my homies like to call the bitch ass demon, aka the crow demon, aka the Tengu demon. These guys are absolute pieces of trash. Okay, if there's one criticism that I gotta give this game in its Legends mode, is that these crow demons are absolutely dumb. They do not need to be this insane. So if you don't know, for whatever reason, somehow maybe you've been leaned back and your teammates have been killing them the entire time, the Tengu demon shoots out a flock of crows towards you, and the game tells you, oh, to get away from these guys, you're gonna have to just roll and dodge. That being said, rolling, running, and dodging does not work. The only way to really get away from that crow demon's barrage is to hide behind something. So they do massive damage, and you and your team, much like the Oni Lord, you guys need to focus the crow demon immediately. Having them walking around in the field will not be okay, and I can only imagine the amount they're gonna give out during this raid. So please, for the sake of your teammates' mental health, go ahead and destroy that crow demon as fast as you and your team can. The next enemy up on the list are Eo's disciples, and they're a big step down from Oni Lords and Tengu demons, but they're still very much pains in the ass because they have the ability to grant healing to all the enemies within their area. And the healing isn't minimal, it's pretty fucking massive. Kinda wish I could have some type of healing like that myself. That being said, all you guys gotta do is just give it a quick focus and they'll be knocked out pretty easily. They're pretty low unless we see another form of these enemies inside the raid. Next up are the tethered enemies. These are not exactly enemy types, but more for enemy ability, so to speak. Now, if you guys recall, these guys are tethered to either another enemy, so it'll be 2 enemies tethered together, or 3, as we see in the Nightmare Survival, but it is possible that we can see them also with more in the raid. So watch out for that. Make sure you guys coordinate that either you get them all low, then wipe them out all at once, or 1 person per tethered enemy. Next up, you might not count these as an enemy, but I definitely do, and that is the Huachas, or the fire spirits as the Legends mode calls them. These are the ones that shoot a bunch of fire arrows into the sky and take a little AoE area that you can see. Now, yes, you do have some time before the fires hit the ground, and 2, you do have the knowing that they're only going to shoot in front of you because they're predicting your path. But they're still a pain in the ass in the field to deal with and can end up killing your teammates if not, dealt with. So, make sure you guys, the moment you see them, coordinate it, go after them, destroy them, and you are going to have a way better time on the battlefield. So make sure you do that. Next up, and I forgot to mention this, so this is actually the last of the enemies, are the ghost enemies. Yes, those very annoying ghost enemies that can only be seen in a couple of ways. 1, during a lightning strike. 2, if you have a spirit lantern and you strike it. 3, if you burn them to death. Or 4, if you poison them to death. So that's about the only way. Also, you can check it for their shadows, but their shadows are better at just used for the location rather than what attack they're gonna do, because you're not going to be able to telegraph it that much. So make sure you guys just bring things that can set them on fire, because that is the easiest way to be able to see them without relying on random events like a lightning or trying to get near a spirit lantern in order to strike it. Next up is the possibility of bonus objectives. So I don't think there's going to be many bonus objectives in a raid, but I do believe they're going to be around, especially during the intermediate parts, probably where we see jumping puzzles. You might be able to find them within the jumping puzzle areas, much like the Destiny's hidden chests that you find during the jumping puzzle segments. You might be able to find something like that during these segments. So hopefully they're around, because they're pretty much a free piece of loot if that's what it gives off, or free piece of currency if that's what it also gives off, or both, maybe, who knows. We'll see how that goes. I do hope they're involved, because it does make the jumping puzzles more engaging by having an objective beyond getting from point A to point B. Last but not least, and I think I talked about this in the beginning of the video, but only a little brush up, is the timed chapters. Now, you're probably wondering, what are timed chapters, Nova? Let me tell you. The raid is separated into 3 separate chapters. It wouldn't make sense that they release the raid and you have to go into chapter 1, come out, go into chapter 2, come out, and go into chapter 3. The reason we believe it's timed is because we do know Ghost of Tsushima, especially the base game, is very, very capable of holding its own when it comes to creating a massive raid where it's continuous content. So the chances of it being timed are extremely high, and if you don't know what that means, it's basically saying chapter 1 will release day 1, chapter 2 will release day 2, and chapter 3 release day 3. And how long are these days are going to be separated from each other? We're thinking about a week on every Friday, which is every weekly reset. We hope that's not the case, but it is the most likely case. Okay, guys? And that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it all, man. I hope you guys know the tips you need to fight certain Oni. I hope you now know what you need to be in order to enter the raid. And while I don't want it to be a thing, it's more than likely that it's going to be timed releases for the chapters. But I just hope that at the very least, each individual chapter holds just enough content, or more, maybe, who knows. Sucker Punch hasn't been headed in a while. Just enough content to hold us over until the next chapter's release. That being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said earlier, like the video if you guys like it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Make sure you hit the notification button as well, and comment with constructive criticism if, you know, maybe you didn't like the video, and you can leave a dislike too, I guess. I guess. Anyway, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Expect a video on the raid gameplay itself coming this Saturday, which is a day after the raid. Peace, guys.